No, 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 no. There we are. Hello. Look at that. Live now. It worked. Hello, everybody out there in Facebook land. We're live now. Coming to you live from Queen City Music Studios here in Staunton, Virginia. Let me know if y'all can hear and see okay. I'm kind of trying out some new technology today, which is super fun. Got this handy mic, a nice new camera, courtesy of the one, the only Sean Newman, who just happens to be in the building with me now, but he'll be gone soon. We're going to talk about him both in front and behind his back. In front of, behind his back, grammar. There he is. Sean Newman himself, everybody. Sean Newman. There he is. Awesome. Up and moving. So, today we are going to be talking about a certain technique that is near and dear to my heart, and that is writing drum parts. So as you can see, I've set up here my electronic drum set. I usually like to write with the electronic kit because it allows you for Sean's giving me some funny faces. It allows you to hear the parts a little more MIDI style and a little more clear before bringing them over to the tones that you're going to get on the other drums. So it's kind of like working with part one, and then you can add the tones of the drums later. So you're thinking of that. So we're going to kind of check these sounds, make sure they're working. How we doing there? Let me know if it's not. I don't see any faces yet. Waiting for that. Live now. I'm right here, right now. There's someone. Hello. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. So we'll be working in just a moment here. Give me just a sec. I have this second. Do. Yep, we've got this lovely track to work with. Yeah, there that is.
Without you, I don't spend too many nights at home. When I do, I wonder if I'm the only one sitting by myself with TV on. If you are alone, all by myself on summer's night, smoking cigarettes and swatting flies, the crickets and their song to the empty sky.
Check, check.
Couldn't shake this lonely.
Check, check. Hello, hello. Hey, everybody. I'm not watching yet. Hang on one sec. Listen, no one's watching. One moment. Hi, everybody. We'll be working in just a moment. $224. What's that? Hello, hello. Welcome, viewers. You ready to write some drums? Make sure this is working. We are. Great. All right. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Today I wanted to talk about something a little special to me, which is the act and the art of writing drum parts. Kind of fun. I'm gonna move this down a little and see if you can see me a little bit better. Yeah, we'll get a little more personal with that one. So I love writing drum parts. When a musician or a orchestrator or anyone comes to me and says like, "Hey, can we start putting some percussion, some drums behind this?" It just makes me jump out of my seat because it's one of my favorite things to do and to put together. So it just so happens that about a month ago or so, one of our other teachers here, Mr. Sean Newman, who was here a second ago, asked me to write drums for a tune that he's working on, and he has graciously allowed me to share that tune with you guys tonight. It's called Crickets. It's really beautiful. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of share how we go about making a drum part for a song from scratch. From point zero, we've all been making sourdough bread. Now it's time to make some drums. I want to start right away with the first thing, and I have this handy notebook. And I want to share with you what we can do with this notebook. Let me know, whoever's watching here, that the audio and everything is coming through. It should be. So the very first thing that we want to do when we start to look into a drum part is we need to make sure, especially in the situation like I am, that we are very first connecting with the artist, connecting with the person who has asked you to do this. So I had the fortune of seeing Sean earlier, and I got to say to him, "Hey, man, maybe it's time to make sourdough drums." "Yes, Casey." Okay. So you do like a massive drum solo, and then you eat it afterward, and it's a very Keith Moon kind of move, I think. So when we start looking at a drum part, the first thing we really want to do is talk to the artist, talk to the person who's writing this, and make sure that you're getting what they want out of the part. It's a way to get past some of those initial phases where you might be sending them drafts, you might be sending them something else that they then go, "Oh, maybe not this, maybe not this." Just kind of moving that ball and getting it moving, and always, always, always be in communication with the person that you're writing. It's art. It's lots of new and lots of creation at this point. So don't be scared to talk about ideas. So the next best thing to do, and I'll let you know that when I spoke to Sean, he said, "I trust you," which is really, really sweet when someone says that. But he said, I was kind of hearing the drums come in on the first chorus, like when the bass starts to pick up, which he knows what he's saying, because we're going to talk about bass in a bit here. I want to introduce to you the steps that we're going to take here after that. So after you talk to the artist, then we start to look into two different things. So I'm going to give you two techniques tonight that you can use, and I'll put them on here too, to help you write drum parts, to really put a form to it. I also specialize or work a lot in teaching English, so this is kind of how I like to put my brain into it in a lot of the same ways that we do with English. So I got this notebook and write this down. And the first thing we want to do is look into what are the stages, what are the steps from getting from zero drums, no drums, there's no drums in the track, to we are now have a finished product to send them. And I actually love to follow the exact same order that we would with a paper. If you think of a paper, going all the way back to high school for some of us, maybe, for some of us, maybe more recent, college. So I want to look at this like we would write a paper. So here are the 5 steps that I follow when writing a paper. So we start with number 1. Number 1 is the pre-write phase, pre-writing. Looks like this. Pre-writing, number 1, exactly. So in the pre-write phase, what we want to do is start to do, first, talk to the artist like we did. Second, make sure you look up your artist, or you look up you could be writing for a musical, you could be writing for a band, you could be writing for any kind of thing. If that is the case, then make sure that you are getting in touch with that genre. So pre-writing is artist and genre. And make sure too, like I took some time today, artist genre, I took some time today to go look at Sean's website before doing this, and some of his Facebook things, and just get kind of a sense of other things they've written. So you could see kind of going like, oh, okay, I know where they are. Like, so Sean is a bluegrass, country, folk kind of performer. So you wouldn't want to be coming into it, approaching with things maybe like, rah! That's really not going to do you a lot of good here. Isn't really what we're looking for. So you've already eliminated a lot of things. The pre-writing and also under genre, what works there is this is where your study comes in. This is where working with the teacher comes in, and why we learn a lot of different styles, because there's different ways you can approach into that sort of concept or idea if you have different places to come from. So knowing that he's bluegrass and folk, I could say, oh, we might be heading into the kind of thing that's sort of a country tubey, sort of the or we could be heading into sort of the bluegrass trainee shuffle sort of thing. Because you hear a lot of that, and I heard some of those on his works earlier. So that's the pre-write phase. And then, sorry, I apologize. There's one more step to the pre-write phase, which we're going to do together. Yay! We're going to do this together. So in the pre-write phase is when we also start to listen, of course. Before we touch the drums, we want to take a look at the song itself. We want to take a look at the piece. The reason we want to look at the piece is there may be some artistic and sort of vibe things that you might be saying that are going to happen. So, for instance, with this one, here's a really good start. Again, as I said before, I'm really into English and these kind of things. The song's called Crickets. Okay, there's a start. Without actually having listened to anything yet, I now know this song's called Crickets. Crickets probably aren't going to be loud, aren't going to be anything that are too abrasive. As a matter of fact, crickets usually means a really quiet idea. So immediately, I am drawn to things on the kit that emulate that concept. So they're going to fit more into the artistic style of what we're talking about. So knowing crickets, we're probably not going to have a ton of like low tommy sort of stuff or this like high tom things. I tend to think of crickets more as these kind of, maybe a little more splashy cymbal-y work. Could be some snare stuff. But it's going to be quieter. It's going to be more in the background. So we already have a place to go there. So make sure you're looking at that and taking that into account. So right there, we're starting to listen. And when you listen, here's what you want to listen for. I'm going to write this down. So we have artist, we have genre, and then we have listen. This is your first listen. What you're listening for are concepts. That's the artsy, woo kind of way of looking at it. The concepts, the vibes, the kind of general idea that the song is going for, right? That's why we do art. And you're also going to look at the lyrics. Lyrics are really, really important for you, especially since they're probably going to be some of the more rhythmic things that you have to back up. So we're going to listen for lyrics, and they might have another couple hints, much like Crickets just gave us. So this is a little more of the artistic side of things, but that's what we're going to do on this first listen through. It's just kind of get an idea of like, oh, okay, here's what the song's about. How can I, as a drummer and playing this instrument, playing percussion, put out something that is going to be dealing in this same idea? So here, we're going to take a first listen, and we are listening for concepts. And we are listening for lyrics. Here we go. So this is Crickets by Sean Newman. It's a really great song. Let me know if you can hear it. I need to turn anything up.
Without you, I don't spend too many nights at home.
Nice at home.
When I do, I wonder if I'm the only one.
So we already have some long. We've
Sitting
already
by
got that sort of
myself
sense. Okay. We know it's not going to be
TV
too
on. If you are alone, all by myself on
all by myself. Okay, we already. Thank you, Casey. We already know that we've got
cigarettes
smoking cigarettes
swatting flies.
and swatting flies. All right,
Crickets
this is a very sort of low background vibe move. Yep.
Sky.
This isn't going to be anything heavy.
Couldn't shake this lonely feeling if I tried.
And we've got a break. Beautiful Sean Newman break. So right here, we know we're going to want to be supporting guitar, but we're going to get to that when we look at the more technical aspects. This is first listen.
Be out of work again in
Out of work. That's many of us, right?
Time. Will the devil start playing with my idle mind.
Poor idle mind.
Still be on this front porch, will I think of you?
Okay. So we still have that longing. That's
Will
still in
I
this verse.
be alone? All by myself on
Back to the chorus, so all by myself again.
night. Smoking cigarettes and swatting flies.
Swat and fly. Swat and fly is actually something we
Crickets
could even try to
and
emulate on drums.
to
But we'll get to that
the
too. It's kind of a cool idea.
empty sky. Couldn't shake this lonely
That bass playing's
feeling
great.
if I tried.
So that last lyric is, couldn't shake that lonely feeling if I tried. So we want to make sure that we're not shaking that lonely feeling either, right? With the part that we're writing, we want to make sure we're getting that too. There's a lot of push and pull here and a lot of continuation of this idea, of this thought. Got another break. So we also know, having heard these, there's the third guitar break that we've heard, we now know that this is going to be in the bluegrass style that
Peepers
has
quit their peeping
like
a
the
couple
A-B kind of
weeks
sections.
ago. Times are getting better for me.
Hey, times are getting
I
better.
know
We might want to be more groovy at this
when
point.
these leaves have all fallen, will I be on my own? Will someone keep me from the cold?
There you go.
All by myself on
Well, by myself, but we're moving more, right? Your advice? Okay.
smoking cigarettes and swatting flies.
Swat flies.
Crickets and the songs
Flies.
to the empty sky. Couldn't
Doesn't stop
shake
after this
this
hits. It's
long
cool.
feeling if I tried.
All right, there we go. So there's our first listen. Let's see what we found out just going through that first listen. So I know it's a long process. It takes time to write things. So we were looking for, we already looked at the artists. We know that the genre is bluegrass. So we've been listening to concepts and lyrics. What concepts and lyrics did we find? The concepts I was personally picking up was we have this, couldn't shake this lonely feeling if I tried. So, okay, we know that there is this constant feel, right? There's just this constant feeling underneath. We can be that. We can be that constant feeling. That's something drums can do really well. So constant feeling might be something that I write underneath here, or just a note to keep to myself. And there was the swatting flies was coming in, so there's some sort of, I would say, some dirty aspects going on. It's not a great or necessarily clean place where this is, and we know that we are looking at, let's see, couldn't shake so lonely feeling if I tried, still all alone, and we know that it gets a little bit bigger in that third verse, so that's something we might take some notes on. So now we have this concept. So here's just an idea of what my page is looking like at this point. So we have our pre-writing going on with the artist, the genre, and we did a listen. We got some concepts, we got some lyrics. I wrote them on top there so I wouldn't forget them. And now we head into section 2, which I gave a spoiler for here, which is where we actually get into writing. We actually get into writing our piece. So we're going to take another listen, and what I'm going to do with this listen is start to play along. We're going to start to kind of touch the drums and see what feels right, what feels good. This is where the study of grooves comes in. So I know bluegrass, and like we talked about a little with those grooves before, there are different bluegrass grooves I could use. I'm going to try and use some of those underneath what he's playing and see what feels right and see what doesn't. And then we're going to give another listen after that and get the actual form and talk about that. So here we go. Here's me absolutely improvising over top of this song. So it's going to be dirty and messy and gross, and here we go. This is a really important aspect. We're painting with broad strokes right now. Here we go.
Without you, I don't spend too many nights at home. When I do, I wonder if I'm the only one sitting by myself with the TV on. if you are alone, all by myself on a summer's night, smoking cigarettes and swatting flies. The crickets
That snare
and
didn't feel great to me, so I stopped playing.
the empty sky.
There's those hits. We know those are coming.
Couldn't shake this lonely feeling if I tried.
So we know we're going to have to support this little solo, so we're going to want to give something. What's feeling best right now is maybe that sort of bluegrass and snare stuff.
Be out of work again in a few weeks' time. Will the devil start
So moving to that
playing
hi-hat
with
there felt very
my
good too.
idle mind?
Coming out of sections like that,
Still be on his front porch, will I?
it often
Think
feels
of-
good to switch out where you're heading, or which instrument you're
Will
using
I
as your main
be
group.
alone? All by myself.
So now we're back to the chorus.
on Summer's night, smoking cigarettes and swatting flies. Crickets and their song to the empty sky. Couldn't shake this lonely feeling if I tried.
We're on another break. Maybe we want to use the drive for this to have some growth. Sounds pretty good at guitar. I like that.
Peepers quit their peeping a couple
We're back to another verse.
weeks ago. Times are getting better for me. I know when these leaves have all fallen, will I be on my own? Will someone keep me from the cold? All by myself on summer's night, smoking cigarettes and swatting flies. Crickets and a song to the empty sky. Couldn't shake this lonely feeling if I tried.
All right. So now we've got some ideas. So there were a couple different grooves that I felt coming in there. A lot of them were based around either that bluegrassy sort of or the 1 and 3, 1 and 3, 2 and 4 would actually be where it is. Sorry, right? 2 and 4. Or a lot of times the just sort of 2-beat, which is literally quarters here. And then 1 and 3 and 2 and 4. Simple is good. Simple is good. To quote The Office, keep it simple, stupid. That always feels good. So that was really coming in. I also like to use a lot of the 2 ands on the snare. That's a really nice way. 1, 2, 3, or 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and. That gives a really nice way to push through something, especially if you're moving into a chorus that needs a little movement. So we might want to use that near the end. That's one thing that felt like it was coming out. There were a couple fills that felt good, or like, oh, this fill is sounding really, really fun. And I'm having a nice time with it. So it's nice to kind of get those in there, especially after those hits. 1, 3, he's using some classic 2, boom, do, 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 go, or whatever feels right there. It's very, very clear that, oh, there's a spot where a fill could come in. Okay, so with that, let's actually get the form of this song written down and then see where we want to apply those things. So now we've done our we've done our pre-writing. We know what genre we're working in. We know what the lyrics are doing. We know what the vibe is. The vibe is kind of a constant, so we make sure we're keeping constants. We have done our first listen after writing. So we do a listen, and we play along. So we just played along. See what felt good. Now here's our handy little chart. And now we're heading to the point where we actually want to figure out the form of the song. This is where we start getting actually into like theory and into different pieces of it. Hi, Jackie. And get into different pieces of how we want to do this. So let's listen to this song again. And we're going to write the form down. So almost always, I'm going to use a separate page for this. Almost always, when we start a new piece like this, we want to start with intro. This is almost always, I used to play in a lot of cover bands, and if you're learning new songs, you can almost always guess, and you're charting them out, which is what we're going to do here. We're just going to write down the form of the song. It almost always starts with an intro. Almost always. So just write intro. Boom. Intro looks like that. And we're going to write down what that sounds like. So here's what we're doing. There's going to be some stop and starts. Here we go. Intro. Aha! All right, so there's our intro, right? So we've got this kind of guitar lickies, really nice, like subtle, nice intro. Chances are with drums, we don't want to get in the way of that. We don't want to be pushing too far out there, especially for something that is making a point to come in quietly. So the intro is going to be a guitar lick, and I would actually recommend sitting out. It is just as important. This is huge. If you take anything else out of this little drum lesson tonight, it is this. It is that being quiet is just as big as being loud. Using silence is just as much as using sound. So right now, we have to be supporting. So at the moment, we know that this is this guitar rick. It's bringing people in. We probably won't do much. And also, if we remember back to the beginning as we started this, we know that Sean was saying, maybe not drums until that first chorus or so, until the bass picks up. And we'll get into that. So intro, I would say either nothing or very, very simple, light colors. If you ever hear someone say, hey, play colors, it means that they want you to play things like on the cymbals to make things very easy. So here you go. Here's the intro again. And we're going to call the next section, as you can probably guess, A. Let's find out what happens in A. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4.
Without you, I don't spend too many nights.
So we know we have a verse. We're going to call A the verse.
When I do, I wonder if I'm the only one.
So, to give another piece of advice, to give another little tip or trick, what I'm listening for right now, immediately, my first thing my ear goes to is the bass. I want to listen into that bass. If the bass is moving along, which Sean, by the way, is a brilliant bass player. If the bass starts moving along right there and starts, making more of a pattern, then we're going to want to find a way to accent that pattern and support that pattern. Right now, though, the bass is mainly just doing whole notes, or mainly just doing ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom on the down, pretty much the downbeats of where the chords change. And that means that there's not a lot of groove happening. So we're either going to want to play light things. I would actually almost recommend right here, another good trick is maybe a shaker or something a little more chill. So let's keep listening.
By myself with TV on. If you are alone, all by myself.
Here's our B section.
Summer's night.
Or a chorus.
Smoking cigarettes and swatting flies. The crickets and
I would say maybe shaker here. 1, 2.
Sky.
We know those hits are there. They happen every time.
Couldn't shake this lonely feeling if I tried.
So now hear that bass starting to pick up. It's starting to do a little more. and we want to support that guitar solo, I would recommend maybe a groove here. We might want a groove, and this is what we'll call the C section. It's a break. So just so you know, another A section.
Weeks time. The devil
so we don't want to necessarily go all the way back down because we want to make sure that the song has progress to it. Going up and down extremely on the drums can be a problem. It can kind of push people away. So here's our second verse. We're probably going to want a groove. We'll see what kind of groove we want. Here's the chorus again. Section B.
Summer's night, smoking cigarettes and swatting flies.
Now that those hits are going to come again, and we know that, so we're going to make sure that we want to fill them. Exactly. Groove. So I'm going to write a little note.
Shake this lonely feeling if I try.
Another break. Here again, we want to make sure that there's progress, and since it's another break and chill, we still want to maybe change up what we're playing here. So we're going to groove, but where before we were maybe playing a lighter groove or we had a chorus thing going on, I would open up more here because it is a more open setting. So maybe to the ride cymbal, maybe something of that nature. We'll find out what feels good.
Peepers quit their peeping.
Another A.
Weeks ago. Times are getting better for me. I know when these leaves have all fallen, will I be on my own?
It might be nice to break the group down a little bit there after the guitar solo. So let's see what if we do a
all by myself on summer's night.
Back to the B with
smoking
the chorus.
Cigarettes and swatting flies, crickets and the song to the empty sky. Couldn't shake this lonely feeling if I tried.
Now we have this C, which is this ending. Now we want to make sure we count out that ending and make sure we're on it.
If I tried.
3, 4, 2, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. It's just two measures after the only feeling if I tried. Two measures, and it ends on 1. So I'm going to show you now what this page looks like that I've been scribbling on. Boom. Now we have the form of our song. This is what this looks like. We have the intro, which we know is just guitar, and we're going to kind of chill out of. Then we have a verse. The verse, I'm still a little unclear exactly what we want for that. It's still more chill, maybe just some colors, find out. The B section, where the chorus first comes in, it might be nice to have a shaker, which I'll grab here. The C section, which is a guitar break, we want to support that guitar. So I have written groove next to that. We want a groove. Don't know exactly what groove yet. And then we go back to another A. We don't want it to go back down. Going all the way back down is going to be too much of a drop. It will just feel like too much, I promise you. So we want to go to a groove, probably a different one. Then we have another chorus. There's a groove, and we want to remember those hits. That down, dum, dum, that Sean has included. They're really important. We might fill out of them. We'll see. And then we have another break, and that does probably a bigger groove is what we're going to want there. An A, I have low groove written. That might be a nice way to frame the song if we're looking at the song in terms of, if we graphed it like this, kind of like that. We want to make sure that that's probably a point where we want the down. And then with the next chorus, it's the last chorus. We're going to want it to be big. And then that last two measures, there's a real nice, and Bluegrass likes to use tags at the end. They use those tags. So let's take a look through those. So here's the next trick. We're going to keep that chart up, or I'm going to have that chart next to me, and we're going to play through it again with those ideas in mind. I am going to grab a shaker, because we found out that shakers are cool. We always want to be open to that idea, too. Sometimes you're going to have like a flight of fancy. You're going to go, maybe it would be cool if an electric triangle played in the second chorus, and accented every time that the bass only played upbeats. Might be crazy, might work wonderfully. You kind of never know. It's worth testing things. So we're in this testing phase. So I'm going to put this here for me. So I have that going, and we'll get his going. I'm going to grab that shaker, because I think a shaker is going to feel real nice in that beginning. Hang on. Another pro tip, make sure you have all of the percussion instruments that you want with you. So I'm lucky enough to be here at Queen City Music Studios in Staunton, Virginia, where we're teaching lots of different classes. But there's lots of wonderful instruments here. There's actually a washboard over there that's like one of the ones you wear on your chest, and I'm going to learn how to play it, I swear. But for now, we're going to keep our handy-dandy shaker. This one happens to be shaped like a pear. Make no mistake, these fruit shakers are amazing. They are the best sounding shakers I've ever seen. I'm personally a fan of the banana one, but the pear one sounds good. They're nice, they're soft, they really do a nice job. So let's give this a try with our notes now that we know what we're heading into. Here we go, Sean Newman.